Bum 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 bum. The Peter Show. Bum 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 bum. All right, I am 12 hours into an intermittent fast, and I thought I would record a video to help strengthen my resolve a little bit. I haven't been able to fast very much since coming home to the United States. I don't know if it's cultural divide or maybe jet lag even, because I had a very consistent schedule in terms of eating. Uh, and I hopefully today I'll finally push a 16-hour fast. That's usually the bare minimum that I don't think there was a day that went by when I was in Taiwan that I didn't do a 16-hour fast. So something about returning home hasn't been going well for me. But I'm still glad at all the progress that I've made. Even when I don't do a 16-hour fast, a lot of times I'm still having a healthier relationship with food. I haven't always had that. And I was reflecting on some trauma in my life that may have contributed to my eating disorder. When I was a kid, my parents were immigrants, and so it was instilled in me not to waste food. We would be eating something, and my parents would refuse to let me leave the table until I finished my food, sometimes for hours. I am autistic, and sitting at a table is just torture, no matter how you cut it, whether it be my favorite food or a food I don't like. Being forced at a table, even to this day, you guys know I return to the dating scene. I do not like to go on dates that I cannot easily back out of. Right? If I feel I would not like to go to her home with her family where I would feel pressured if I had to back out of it, right? So you can imagine, and then you combine that with eating something I don't like, right? And I remember thinking that I can't wait to get out of my family's home so I never have to deal with this anymore. As a kid, I had daydreams of when I find it, the day I move out. I had atrocious eating habits, but I had big daydreams of all the junk food I would eat on the day that I moved out. Fortunately, I never got to that. I'll get to why in a second. I was 16 years old when I quit drinking soda. I was going to college part time, and there was a girl in the classroom that I liked. I've already mentioned this a number of times, and I knew when I put that soda back in the fridge after not wanting to drink it, I knew I was never going to drink soda again for the rest of my life. It just went so well. It's kind of weird because my parents had pressured me to stop drinking soda or at least cut back on soda. Actually, they pressured me to cut back on soda, which is what made it fail so miserably. You cannot I've never seen anybody cut back on soda. I've seen many people quit drinking soda, but never seen anybody cut back. My mom used to threaten me a lot when I had behavioral issues. She would say that when I turned 18, she was going to kick me out of the house. I was 16 years old at the time, and that threat loomed large at me, especially the concept of going hungry loomed large at me. And it did not. You got to remember, when I was 16, I also stopped eating junk food, and then this pressure that I was going to go hungry. The combination of those two really contributed a lot to because I replaced junk food with binge eating healthy foods, if you can believe it. I know it's a weird path that I took. Got to remember, at the time, the girl in that classroom seemed like an emergency. I got to do something before she graduates. I thought to myself, maybe I'm eating too much in terms of the healthy foods, but I can take care of that later. Of course, later sometimes means decades and decades later, right? And sometimes not even until you're dead, right? A lot of times the concept of later has a tendency to become that, right? I learned the hard way that I got to set good boundaries with my family when they talk about my eating. So, for example, I used to spend a lot of time when I would go to Taiwan. I used to stay with my grandparents. I don't do that anymore. My grandmother on my father's side used to comment a lot about how much I was eating and how bad it was for me and all that. There's a little bit of a problem with that. It's well intentioned, I will give her that. There's a little bit of a problem, though. At the moment that I'm eating, I want to actually enjoy what I'm eating. And when my grandmother is barking like that, it kind of short circuits that enjoyment. And the result is that not only did I eat way too much, at least by grandmother's standard, I didn't get anything out of it. Now that I stay in a hostel by myself and I eat too much and nobody's there to comment, I quickly bore of it and move on to other things like go to a speed dating event or look for job opportunities in Taiwan, right? I move on, right? Of course, I'm going to eat more than normal my first couple of days into it's novel, right? But without grandmother barking in the background, I can actually move on from that, right? Anyways, I thought I would elaborate on some of the traumas that contributed to my eating disorder, especially my mom threatening to kick me out at 18. That really loomed large at me for many years. I still remember my 18th birthday. I took a walk in we lived in Murraysville, Pennsylvania, a suburb of Pittsburgh, and my mom didn't threaten to kick me out that day. I continued living at home for 3 more years until I went to work on my PhD. And I remember thinking, at least she doesn't have that threat anymore. And uh, oh right, I still cannot spend time. My grandmother on my father's side is gone, but on my mother's side, she still has similar habits. You got to understand what they lived through, right? Taiwan had they had a late Great Depression in the 50s, and the concept of eating that much was is just very foreign to them, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.